For being here this morning. Here we go, kick off of the 2013 season. So it's an exciting time for everybody in college football, but in particular for us. We're now going on to practice number 4, second day in shoulder pads. And hopefully we'll continue to gain on the improvement that I thought we made through the first 3 days. Saw some great retention early from what we built on in spring schematically, but probably more impressively saw a very well-conditioned football team. Jay Hooten and his staff did an outstanding job, but the credit goes to our young men with the way they invested this summer. Came in ready to go, and we were able to push them from the minute we started practice. Made some small structural tweaks to our practices this year. First of all, we're going to practice in the afternoon pretty much exclusively throughout training camp. We'll really only have 1-2 a day. The rest of the time we will be really on a similar structure. We're in the morning for about an hour, and then if you include the afternoon, about another 45 minutes of pretty extensive walkthroughs, and we're really challenging our guys mentally more so than we ever have. And then out in and around the 3:30 time period for pre-practice, pre-stretch, pre-practice walkthrough, and then 4 o'clock we're on the field for about a 22-period practice for us, which is a pretty long grind. So what we did is we took away some of the 2 days that we did as far as structural standpoint in the past, and took those situations that we may have lost as far as reps and spread it out throughout the whole length of the camp. Number one, we're going to do that to stress our guys mentally. We feel like we've got a very experienced group, and even though we're still pretty young, we feel like we've got a lot of experience. We wanted to put more on their plate. We felt like we were a little bit behind with our post-spring surgeries, that we needed to put more on our guys' plate mentally to start things off here as we got going in camp. And then most importantly, to keep our guys healthy and safe. You know, we're going to get plenty of reps. That's never been a concern of ours, but we wanted to make sure we did it in a very constructive way where we can get our guys in the necessary rest so they stay fresh so we can go out and practice fast. We came into camp relatively healthy. The guys that we had lost for spring were all back, ready to go, and to this point, knocking on wood, we've stayed healthy through 3 days. So a lot of work to do, a lot of questions to get answered like everybody in the country, but I like the chemistry, I love our conditioning level. Now it's just time to roll up our sleeves and go to work. So with that, how about questions, please?
If you'd like to ask a question, please grab one of the wireless mics from either Betsy or Dan, just for the benefit of the camera so that they can get that audio.
Hey Pat, 3 days into practice, have you learned anything new about this team?
Well, like I said, they're in very good shape. And I think they came into camp probably as good a shape or rivaling any of the teams that we've had in the past. You can tell that the guys have done a great job behind it, what we did over the summer. So that's encouraging, number one. Number two, I love our depth. I mean, this is probably the deepest team that we've had to this point. Now, obviously no adversity has hit us yet, and that will happen. It happens every year. So how we respond to that will be important. And when I'm talking about that, I talk about injuries, so the bumps and bruises as we go forward. But so far, so good.
Fitz, were you able to assess the offensive line a little bit more yesterday, having put on the shoulder pads and got more a little bit?
Yes, I obviously that's one of our objectives this fall camp is we got to identify our 5 stars in the offensive line. We'll have multiple combinations out there, some by the way the guys are playing, some other variables that may play into that is health. We might rest some guys, but it gives me great confidence having Brandon back at center. And he's played a lot of football for us, and everything for us goes through the center. And then moving Jack over, he was a little rusty to start because he had missed spring, but I thought he really improved yesterday. And then the competition's going to be ongoing. We've got a game time set. We know who we're playing, where we're playing, and we'll have our own line set by then. But it'll be pretty fluid between now and then.
Fitz, on that video we just saw, Kane Coulter said it's time to get to the Rose Bowl. What do you think when you hear that?
Well, I agree. That goal hasn't changed. I mean, it's over to your left. It's to win the Big Ten championship. So, like everybody, right now it's talking about goals and macro stuff, and that's what you guys want to ask me about. And specifically, we got a lot of work to do. So those are the things that we're embarking on every day in practice. And we still haven't put situations into practice. We'll do for the next 3 days. We'll still be in heavy installation. So a lot on their plate mentally, but that'll continue to progress as we go forward. But from an expectation standpoint, that hasn't changed.
Is it at all difficult to differentiate between the short-term and long-term goals? How do you do that as a coach?
I think you just articulate it. Your first introductory meetings, you talk about the long-term goals, what the things are that we need to do to get there, and how we're going to go about that plan. But then you kind of take it back down to the day by day and what we do and how we do it. And our guys, we've had terrific staff continuity and consistency. So what we do, how we do it, Those things are off our players' plates. They know exactly what our expectations are, and so now it's just our job to coach them better.
Pat, you mentioned the depth of this team. Does it change your approach? You have a very talented team here, a lot of expectations. Is your approach anything more mentally this year than physically, or how do you approach the season?
Yeah, Rich, it's a great question. I think it's a combo. You know, for some guys like Benrick or Kane or Trevor or Tyler Scott, and I can keep kind of going on those very experienced players that we have. It's making sure that they're peaking at the right time, getting ready for the opener and then beyond. And then there's that group of redshirt freshmen and then true freshmen that are getting their first experience of understanding what it means to be a Wildcat and how to play. And then we've got to really stress those guys mentally and physically. So it's kind of a balancing act. We can accomplish that by great communication, really working with our players. So, you know, how you feeling today? Where are things at from a health standpoint? And, you know, we might rest some guys because they feel a little tight here, a little tight there if they're experienced. That's a benefit to them. It's also a benefit to us as a coaching staff to kind of see the next man up, kind of what does he really know? You know, maybe put him out there with the ones when maybe he may think he's not ready, but we're going to give him that opportunity to show that he can do it.
You talk a lot, you've been talking about